It's December 2025. After unsuccessful negotiations, President Trump orders the military into Panama, sending troops to secure the Panama Canal under a mission called Operation Just Because. The United Nations panics, and commentators on TV are screaming something about fascism. Wait, that didn't happen, and hopefully never will. What actually happened took place much earlier, in December 1989, when the US launched Operation Just Cause. We'll get to that in a moment, but first, why is this decades-old invasion suddenly back in the spotlight? All-new President Donald Trump came with a pretty clear message during his inaugural address. We are taking back the Panama Canal. Some people in the crowd were clapping, some were thinking of clapping something, some were missing their wives, others didn't know where they are. And Kamala on Trump's left looked like she needed a drink, or two, or a bottle. A little bit of politics. Why the Panama Canal? Trump says it's simple. The US built it, lost 30,000 workers to mosquitoes in the process, helped Panama gain independence from Colombia, and controlled the canal until Jimmy Carter handed it to Panama under Torrijos-Carter treaties, effective on December 31st, 1999. Now, American ships have been paying massive fees just to use what Americans built in the first place, which Trump thinks is not fair. But it's not just about money. Under the Neutrality Treaty, Panama guarantees the canal's neutrality, and the US retains the right to intervene if the canal's neutrality is threatened. And Trump says that neutrality is now threatened. Lately, China has been gaining influence in Latin America, including Panama, through treaties, trade and investments, and lobbying. Chinese companies have been buying infrastructure along the canal, and Trump is worried. What if Panama, pressured by China, blocks US ships from entering the canal? The American economy would get clogged, which would be really bad. Like imagine clogging a toilet while visiting your girlfriend's parents for the first time. That bad. And let's not forget about a navy. They would need much bigger battles to go around the whole continent quickly. Plus, being this close to Antarctica, they would probably risk hitting an iceberg or getting ambushed by penguins or something, I don't know, I'm not a geographer. And so Trump is not ruling out a military intervention. While he probably doesn't plan to invade Panama at this point, well, with Trump, honestly, no one ever really knows, his tough rhetoric acts both as a strategic tool and a way to keep Panama on edge, giving the US significant leverage in negotiations. But even the thought of US military action brings back painful memories for Panama, because we already know it would not be the first time. Back in 1989, tensions between the US and Panama escalated into a full-blown invasion, starring a dictator, a pope, and the greatest hits of the 80s. Here we go. After Panamanian leader Omar Torrijos died in 1981, Lieutenant Colonel Manuel Noriega, a rising figure in the Panamanian military, consolidated power and became Panama's military dictator. Noriega had a history with the CIA, where he served as a paid informant, and he also backed the Contras, a contra-revolutionary force that wanted to overthrow Nicaragua's left-wing Sandinista government, which was supported by the Soviets. For that reason, Noriega enjoyed the continued support of President Reagan's administration. Sounds like a good guy you would want on your side, right? But it wasn't that simple. Noriega wasn't just into politics and intelligence, he also had a side hustle, working for the Medellin cartel, smuggling cocaine into the US, in his anus. No, I'm just joking. He actually used Panamanian defense forces and small airplanes for it, so he could avoid this. Okay, sir, this is a standard random security check. Please take off your pants. Dios mío. At the time, drug smuggling was basically the Latin American version of startup boom, and everybody wanted to participate. By the mid-80s, Noriega's favorite hobbies such as money laundering, killing political opponents, and selling restricted US technology and intelligence turned his relationship with the US sour, and conflict between these Panamanian strongmen and the US government became inevitable. Things started looking dicey, especially with the impending handover of the Panama Canal under the 1977 treaty. In 1988, US federal grand juries in Tampa and Miami indicted Noriega on drug trafficking charges. Reagan's administration tried to cut a deal, resign and leave power, and will drop the charges. But offering this to Noriega was like inviting a nun to Netflix and chill. He was not interested. Okay, maybe that was a little too much, I'm actually Catholic. By 1989, the situation hit a boiling point. Tensions grew between American in the Panama Canal zone and Noriega's Panamanian defense forces, and Panama's dictator annulled a presidential election that would have made opposition leader Guillermo Endara president. Sir, I'm sorry to say Mr. Endara won the election with 71% of the vote. Election? What election? In addition to overturning the result of the election and installing a former classmate, Francisco Rodriguez, as a puppet president, Noriega had Endara and his supporters beaten in the streets like dogs. That caused an international outrage. The Organization of American States called for peaceful transfer of power to Endara, the rightful winner of the election. And then they stole my win, and they were mean. Well, great. Now he's crying. Are you happy, Noriega? In addition to that, US President George H.W. Bush sent 2,000 troops to US bases in the Panama Canal zone. Noriega was not about to back down. In October 1989, he survived a coup attempt, declared himself maximum leader, and got the Panamanian National Assembly to declare a state of war between Panama and the United States. Things escalated quickly when Panamanian soldiers ambushed and killed an unarmed US Marine officer. That was the last straw for Bush. Barbara, can you get me a plastic straw, please? Here you are, but this is the last one. What? That's it. I'm invading Panama. On December 17, Bush ordered 11,000 more troops to join the existing forces in Panama. By December 20, 24,000 US troops launched Operation Just Cause with 3 objectives: to make Noriega face drug charges in the United States, protect American lives and property, and restore Panamanian liberties. The invasion began with a nighttime assault on Noriega's headquarters in Panama City. Military action was swift. The Panamanian defense forces were crushed in just 4 days, but chaos erupted. Civilians looted shops in Panama City and Colón like it was Black Friday, and these cities basically started looking like Portland or downtown San Francisco today. The US flew in 2,000 additional troops to restore order. Despite the firepower and tactical precision from the US, Noriega pulled a Houdini and evaded capture for 4 days before seeking sanctuary in the Vatican's embassy in Panama City. But the US had a secret weapon: loud music. This is no joke, a so-called sonic assault. To flush him out, they blasted tracks like Van Halen's Panama, The Clash's I Fought the Law, and U2's All I Want Is You at ear-splitting volumes. By January 3, 1990, after a couple of sleepless nights, Bush's call with the Pope, and some things that probably happened at the Vatican's embassy. Don't tell anyone. Noriega needed to seek a trusted adult, surrendered, and the US whisked him off to Miami. He was tried, convicted of drug trafficking, racketeering, and money laundering, and sentenced to 40 years in US prison, marking the first time in history that the US jury convicted a foreign leader on criminal charges. The invasion wasn't without controversy. While US officials celebrated the operation as a success, the Organization of American States condemned it. Latin American countries viewed it as unwarranted American interference and a violation of international law. The US was especially criticized for civilian casualties. Estimates varied, but roughly 200 to 300 Panamanian combatants, over 300 civilians, and 23 US soldiers lost their lives. Hundreds more were wounded on both sides. Operation Just Cause left a lasting impact on Panama and its relations with the United States. Hey Panama, don't f***ing touch me, dude! And cemented the US as a key player in the region. Now in 2025, China's growing influence threatens US power in the region, which is why Trump's reaction looks the way it does.